Well, hello, hello, hello. It's been a while. So I have come back on here to record another video for you guys. And I don't know if you can tell from what I am wearing. I have to show this though. This is like it's so cute. My friend got this for me for Christmas. It's a Steelers. It's like a caftan, I guess you call it. But it's like, I love it because it's like super girly too. So I really like that. I have like, um, a Jerome Bettis jersey, and I have a Troy Polamalu jersey, which I love those too. Trust me on that. But it is nice to have something feminine, uh, some feminine Steelers merchandise. So if you haven't guessed already, today's video is going to be about the Steelers. And I might throw a little bit of a dating story in there too, because I can't talk about the Steelers without talking about this person that I dated who was also a Steelers fan. But anyway, so um, my parents, I've said in previous videos, they are from upstate New York. So they're from a small town called Jamestown, New York. It's the birthplace of Lucille Ball. And then they also have this really, really good place for hot dogs called Johnny's Lunch. We would go there every time we went to New York. Highly recommend it. I'm pretty sure it's still open. Hope it is. I don't know. But anyway, very good hot dog place. So they had a best friend, and his name, well, I'm not, anyway, they had a best friend who was from Pittsburgh, and he became our uncle by proxy, family, family by love, you know. So chosen family. He was our uncle for all of our lives. He was from Pittsburgh. So anyway, him and my parents were friends. They became friends at a very young age, like 14, 15 years old. I think. I could be telling that wrong. Don't quote me on that. It was somewhere around there. And then he was a big Steelers fan. So my dad became a Steelers fan. And that's just how we were raised. The legacy was passed down from generation to generation. And so my memories as a child, the Steelers, everybody always, goes back to the days of the 70s, the Steelers in the 70s, and the Steelers and the Cowboys and their big rivalry and all of that. And so I was born I was born in 71. So my memories from the 70s Steelers are from when I was very young, but I do remember very well, like watching the games and cheering for the Steelers, even though I had no idea what was going on. And but I do remember the excitement around it, and so it was always a part of our lives. And then as I got older, I've said in previous videos, I am one of 5 children. There are 3 girls and 2 boys. And out of the 5 children, myself and my 2 brothers are the 3 that really, stayed and got into football. My brother played football. He's my older brother. They're both my older brother, but the next to the oldest brother played football for years. And me and my sister cheered for whatever team he played for. It was adorable. I have pictures from those days. But anyway, he played football, and football was always a big part of our family. And I've always loved the sport. It's not just the Steelers. I can watch most any football game because I love football. So, um, but my 2 brothers and myself and my mother are all still very diehard fans. And I have my terrible towel here. And this terrible towel actually means a lot. It's very special. Oop, it's upside down. Hold on, let me turn it around. Good Lord. Terrible towel, terrible towel. There it is. So this one my mom gave to me. It actually had belonged to my dad, so it means a lot to me. Um, my first terrible towel, I'll bring in the dating story now. My first terrible towel that I ever had, I had met a guy. I was working for this alarm company and just doing like filing and answering phones, stuff like that, administrative work. And but the alarm company, we had like all of these installers that installed the alarms, and then like if problems arose with the alarms, they would go and fix them and things like that. So they all wore uniforms. And the guy that I met, he worked for the company where they got the uniforms from. And he brought the uniforms. He picked them up and they would take them and they would launder them and then bring them back. And then they also replaced like all the mats and stuff that were in the building. It was a small building, but that's how I met him. He would come in to replace the mats and bring in the uniforms. So we got to talking and we found out we were both Steeler fans. And so that's kind of was our, what brought us together. And I remember after I had talked to him, even as an adult, I was always so shy around guys. Like I never knew like how to flirt or how to, I don't know, I wasn't very bold. So him and I had talked enough though that I knew I was interested. So I gone to the flea market, and we used to have this big flea market that came every month. So we was at the big flea market and I found like a Steelers keychain. So I bought the keychain and then like I wrote out, actually I typed it out, this note to him, and I was giving him my phone number, telling him I was interested. I don't even know what I said in the note, but I know I expressed my interest in him. And at the very end of it, I put Go Steelers, and then I put the keychain in there, and then I gave it to him the next time he came in, and he turned out he was interested in as well. So we started dating, and he had cousins that lived in Pittsburgh, and so he uh, got a terrible towel from Pittsburgh, had it shipped to Kentucky, and gave it to me. That was my first terrible towel, and I somehow over the years and in a lot of moves and things have misplaced it. I've not been able to find it, and that just breaks my heart. But it does. It was it had very big sentimental value to me. But I am glad to have my dad's terrible towel. That means a lot as well. And so, yeah, he and I dated. I called him. I still call him the one that got away. He actually passed away. I think it was a couple of years after we broke up, and it was a heart issue or something. And what was the strangest thing about that is while we were dating, he would always talk about all the things he wanted to do before he died. And like I remember him talking about wanting to go skydiving. And I remember running into him because he actually delivered first to the company that I met him at, and then I went and worked at another company, and he serviced that company as well. And I remember running into him. This was after we'd broke up, and he told me that he finally fulfilled his dream of going skydiving. And I remember he used to always say, "I have this bucket list of things I want to do before I die." And it was almost like I think some part of him knew that he was going to die young. He was in his 40s when he passed. I think it was a heart related issue because when I met him, we also had some people in common. There were some friends that they were my mom and dad's best friends, and we went to church with them, and I was best friends with their daughter, and we all grew up together. And so he knew them through someone that he worked with or so. I don't know, but we had a connection there too. So it was someone in their family that actually had informed me that he had passed because I didn't know. But it certainly was a strange feeling, and to know someone that you had dated had passed away. And anyway, he was a good man though, and I was young and dumb, and I think I ran him off. I think I was a little too overbearing, and I don't know. It wasn't like a bad breakup. There wasn't any bad blood between us, but I still to this day call him the one that got away because he was a really good man. He was really good to my daughter. My daughter was around. 8 years old. I think it was 7 or 8 when we were dating, and they got along so well. And he was always so good with her. And then his mom too. His mom liked to spoil her, liked to take her shopping and all of this stuff. And his mom was a sweetheart, but he was a big Steelers fan. So I will, since I'm on the subject of him, there was one trip that we took, and it was him and me and him, and then my brother and his wife, and then another couple, some of the people that we had grown up with. And the Steelers, it was the end of the season. The Steelers had already made it into the playoffs, but they had one more game left, and it was like I think the game was like on December 21st. It was like right before Christmas. So they were playing at that time they were called the Tennessee Oilers. It was when the Oilers moved to Tennessee, but it was before they were called the Titans. And they didn't have a stadium yet. So they played at the Liberty Bowl in Memphis. That was where they played their games. So we were playing them in Memphis. So we went to Memphis, and that was hands down by far the funnest Steelers trip that I've ever been on, and it was amazing. So Memphis was great. We loved it, and we ended up like going to Graceland. I'd been to Graceland several times, but of course you can't go to Memphis and not go to Graceland. So we went to Graceland. We just had a really good time. And then so the game, the morning was the morning of the game, I believe. Yes, we're watching the news, and they are talking about the Steelers. They're talking about the game, and they somehow mention where the Steelers are staying, and they mentioned that it was a Marriott. Now, I'm sure there's probably several Marriott hotels in Memphis. I don't know, but somehow, some way, we figured out which hotel it was, and we went there. We went there that morning, and we pulled up, and we were looking. We wanted to see if it was the right place before we went in. And at that time, our quarterback, well, we had Cordell Stewart, and then we had Tom Zach. Well, no, maybe it was Tom Zach. I know Tom Zach was one of our quarterbacks. Anyway, it was a long time ago. So I see him walk into the hotel, and I said, "Yes, we're at the right place." Tom Zach just walked in. So we parked the car, we go in, and the Marriott was so accommodating. They had a place set up. They put ropes out so that the fans could stand behind the ropes, and the players were getting off the elevator, and they were either going to chapel or they were going the other way to breakfast, so you could see them no matter which way they were going. So we were standing there, and we were, yelling things at them, and all these other fans were there too. And my brother got some great video, but we were just such stalkers. It was so funny. We were such Steeler stalkers, and my brother got some good pictures, got some good video. I ran into one of the players' wives, and I was talking to her, and then I ran into Jerome Bettis, and Jerome Bettis, he was a running back for them, and he retired years ago, but he's my all-time favorite Steeler player, will always be my all-time favorite. Just loved him. And so I was kind of standing where he was like talking to some other people, and my brother's got a video of me, and I'm pointing at Jerome Bettis, and I'm just like, I was so freaked out. I didn't even know what to say. So we went to the game, and it was cold, and it was pouring down rain. And we stayed out there like troopers and watched the game. And there was like this really fun fan that was in front of us, and he had one of those construction like hats on with the beer things on the side of it. And he was being all silly and everything. And we just had a good old time. But the night before, we went down to Beale Street, and everybody, well, not everybody, but anybody that pays attention to football knows that the Steelers travel very well. I know there's other teams that do too, but we took over Memphis. There were Steeler fans everywhere, and we were just having the best time on Beale Street. And one thing I can say about Memphis is a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun. Lost the game, but we didn't care. We had a lot of fun. So that was one of our trips that we went on, and the best one. It was the best one. Well, I don't know. I'm kind of torn because that trip was so fun. But the last one that I went on was my first time going to Pittsburgh. So my brother and my mother had been there several times, but this was my first time. And it was, I have a sign here. Let's see, it was October 10th, 2021. I'll show you the sign I have because whoop, 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 whoop. So I traveled to Heinz Field from Louisville, Kentucky. So they had us, you could get these signs and hold them up during the game. And we were playing the Broncos that day, and we actually won. And this guy, when I was leaving, I was holding my sign, and he said, "You brought us luck. You brought us luck from Louisville." I thought that was funny. I was like, "Nope, that was skill, baby. That was skill." So Pittsburgh is amazing. It is a beautiful city, and especially around where the stadium is. Oh, it's so nice there. Of course, we had a great time. There were people everywhere, and there's all kinds of places to eat. They had a band playing, and it was just amazing. And then they have this other place in Pittsburgh, downtown Pittsburgh, called the Strip District. And down there is like they sell all of this. They have all these merchants that sell Steeler merchandise, and there's restaurants and stuff too, and all of that. But Pittsburgh was amazing, and I cannot wait to go back. And the other thing that was so amazing was the energy. Oh, the energy in that stadium. Oh my God, it was really something. And yeah, so that was another great trip. And one of the other ones that comes to mind is we ended up going to Nashville, and this was years later. This was after the Titans were, of course, in Nashville, and at Nissan Stadium. So we went to Nashville because they were playing Steelers were playing the Titans. So my brother finds out which hotel the Steelers are staying at. So we get a room at the same hotel because we're stalkers. So it was really great because we could like hang out in the lobby and get to meet players and get autographs and take pictures and all of that. Well, Jerome Bettis had a bus because that was his nickname, was the bus. And he had a bus that his family traveled on when he played. So his bus was parked out in front of the hotel. We go up to the bus. We knock, the door shut. We knock on the door. We're just like, what if he's in there? We knock on the door. Driver opens the door. Well, the driver was his uncle. He was so nice. He let us get on the bus, let us take pictures on it, and was telling us all about it. And it was just amazing. We took pictures on the bus, in front of the bus. It was just really, really something. And another thing that happened, so there was a player, Yancey Thigpen. He used to play for the Steelers. And so he played, at that time, he was playing for the Titans. So this was, I think, the day before the game. And we were coming back from somewhere. I don't know where we were coming back from. We was walking along. We was in front of the hotel, and I see this big old white Cadillac Escalade pull up. So of course you're going to notice that because they're big and they're nice and everything. I see this Escalade pull up, and I see this person get out of the Escalade. As soon as he got out, I said, "Oh my God, y'all, that's Yancey Thigpen." And my brother's like, "That's not Yancey." I said, "I know Yancey. When I see Yancey, that's Yancey." Sure enough, it was. And so he come walking up as soon as we were right at the door, and we stopped him and we talked to him, and then we took a picture with him. And the picture is so good because me and my brother look a lot alike. And in this picture, we look like twins, but we got a picture with Yancey. And that game, we lost that game big time. It was ugly, but again, we still had a great time. Nashville is a place that it is near and dear to my heart. Now, at that time, I had been there several times as a child, like on vacation. My parents loved it too. So we used to go to Nashville all the time. But as an adult, my first time ever going down there to the actual like district, like the Broadway district, the Strip they call it. It was for my niece's 30th birthday, and that was my first time ever doing that. And so that was just, oh, I was flabbergasted by the. It was just amazing. Party everywhere, everywhere you go. It was like people. Everybody was happy. It was just great. And I've been there now after since that time. I've been to Nashville. I really don't even know how many times because it's a really easy trip too. It only takes us like little over 2 hours to drive down there, and we just usually go down and spend a weekend and come back. And so Nashville is near and dear to my heart. And so yeah, we really had a good time. And like I said, we stayed at the same hotel that they did, and we hung out and got to get. My brother has most of the pictures. They're really, really good. A lot of them he's gotten framed and hanging on his walls and everything like that. So yeah, this year, of course, has been okay, and still my jury is still out on Russell Wilson, and I go back and forth between wanting to fire Mike Tomlin. Um, yeah, I don't like his play calling, and there's a lot of things I don't like. And we just lost to the Ravens, so like, our season is over. But I still love my Steelers. Still love them. I always will love them. It doesn't matter. You have to stick with your team between thick and thin. When any fan of any team knows that. You got to be. You can't be a bandwagon person and switching around and going to other teams because you like them better or whatever the case may be. You gotta stick with your team. So that's always going to be my loyalty is always going to be to the Steelers, and it always has been. And it's a legacy in our family. It there was one year that we had this really bad ice storm. It was horrible, and I don't even remember the exact year. I'm going to say it was around 2008 or 9, something like that. So we had an ice storm, and everybody was their power was out. Everybody was out of power except for me, and I had power. The Steelers were playing the Arizona Cardinals in the Super Bowl that year. So everybody came to my house to watch the game because I was the only one that had power. So I got people to my house. And anyway, they came over, and my brother, I'll never forget, it was so funny. We were watching the game, and we won. It was great. We won the game and everything like that. And I think that might have been the last Super Bowl we won. I don't know. I think it is. Anyway, that's kind of sad. So my brother is sitting there, and he starts crying. He's going to kill me for telling this, but he starts crying. And he's like, we have so many memories of the Steelers. And he was just going on about, he was very emotional, and he was so happy they won, of course. And I said, are you crying? I was cracking up. It was so funny. Now, the one time I do remember crying over the Steelers was when Jerome Bettis retired, because they had won that Super Bowl too, and they had played in Detroit, and that's where Jerome Bettis was from. And he had his little announcement and all that stuff, and I was crying. We were crying because we won, but also I knew Jerome Bettis was retiring after that season, so it was a good way to go out, though. It's a really good way to go out. So, but I love the camaraderie that comes with um, being a sports fan in general. Here in Kentucky, basketball is just huge. College basketball is huge. And we have the Kentucky Wildcats and we have the Louisville Cardinals. And they are rival teams, of course, and been rivals forever and ever. And not too long ago, the Kentucky Wildcats, for those that don't know, are in Lexington. And where I live now, we're not too far from Lexington because I'm in Shelbyville. So I'm kind of halfway between Louisville and Lexington. And so we'd gone up to Lexington to see this comedian, went to a comedy show up there at Rupp Arena. And after the show was over, we weren't ready to go home. I said, let's find something to do. So we ended up going to this place called the Tin Roof. There, it's a bar, but they have locations. I've been to one in Nashville, and of course they have one in Louisville, and I think maybe we might have found one when me and my sister were out in Tahoe, but I'm not sure. But anyway, I do know they have locations, different locations. So they had a tin roof there. So we were like, we've been to more than one of those, so we always know they're a lot of fun. So we're like, let's go to Tin Roof. Well, the Kentucky Wildcats were playing that night. It was a really close game, and that place was packed. It was standing room only. We didn't even have a seat. So we're standing there amongst all of these Cats fans, and probably a lot of them were students, because the college is there. That's where University of Kentucky is. And we were having the best time. We joined in, cheering them Cats on, and hoping for a win. And they won by 1 point. It was down to like the last second. It was a great game, but boy, was it fun. And that's what I mean about the camaraderie. I love the camaraderie that comes with being a sports fan. And I know that other people who are fans, diehard fans of whatever your team is, can relate to that, and it's just a lot of fun. And um, it's, like over the years, I've learned a lot about football. So I know the sport pretty well, but I know it is complicated. Like my son-in-law, he's never really been into sports, but he's a very intelligent person. And I always say a sign of intelligence is when you ask a lot of questions because you're curious and you want to learn. If he doesn't know about something, he asks questions. He doesn't say, he's not going to try to pretend to know. You know what I'm saying? So I remember like watching a game with him, and he would ask me questions, and I really liked that. So I could explain to him what was going on. He would ask about like the the penalties, like if the ref called a penalty or whatever and what that meant. He would ask about play calls. He would ask about, different things like that. So that was really cool that I could like help him to learn a little bit more about football. But I have a granddaughter, and so they're not planning on having any more kids. So I won't be having unless she could decide to play football if she wanted to, but I said if I ever had it, I told my daughter, if you have a son, he's going to play football. And she's like, well, what if he doesn't want to? I said, well, it's going to be so ingrained in him that he's not going to have he's going to want to play. But I'm still going to teach my granddaughter about the Steelers. I sure am. Got to pass it down. Got to pass down the legacy. And yeah, that's like part of my life story. And I have a tattoo. I've got long sleeves on, or I would show you, but I've got a Steelers tattoo on my shoulder. It's just their emblem. It's faded though. It needs to be touched up really bad because it's really faded because of the sun and everything, But it gets a lot of comments, a lot of attention. And the last comment I think I remember is it was during the summer. I was at the zoo with my daughter and son-in-law, my granddaughter, and this guy looked at it and he said, now I know you've got to be a serious, serious fan to have that tattoo. And I said, oh yes, I am very serious. And the lady who did the tattoo, she said, I've never done a sports tattoo on a woman before. I said, well, I'm a diehard fan. So I have my tattoos that I have are things that are very special to me. And definitely the Steelers is one of those things. So there we go. And I want to say that, I'm trying to get this up and going, doing this by myself. So if you like this video, please press like, subscribe, and share, and comment, and all of those things. Do all of the things because all of those things help and to get the video out there. And so I know it takes a while. I've listened to a lot of podcasts, and I've listened to some for years and had started listening when these people started. So I know it's a process. It takes a while to build up your audience and everything like that. So I am going to make an email address specifically for the podcast because I am interested in other people's stories. So I'm going to set up an email address, and I will see if I can put it in the link in my bio or something. I'm not sure how to do all that, but I'll try to figure it out. And then so you can email me your stories, whether they're related to related to family, related to marriage, dating, relationships, kids, whatever. Because I've I've lived a very interesting, colorful life, is what I said in my first video. So I feel like that I can be a big help to people in a lot of different ways. And I really would like to share stories. And if you would like to have your story told, then you can email it to me. So I will get that set up and put that on my profile so that you'll have my email address. So I really appreciate everybody's support and love. And I'm going to keep this going and just keep plugging along, and hopefully be able to expand my audience and reach more people, and people that can relate to some of the things that I say and all of that. And I would also very much like to be a help to people because, there's just something that resonates with me when a person speaks their truth. And that's what I'm on here to do, is speak my truth and tell my story. And I really appreciate each and every one of you. And I hope everyone has a great night. Bye.